This episode of the Dicebreaker podcast is sponsored by Rogue Heroes Ruins of Tassos, the new game from Team 17 and Heliocentric Studios. Launching on Steam and Nintendo Switch on February 23rd, Rogue Heroes mixes classic adventure gaming with procedurally generated dungeons and roguelite gameplay for up to 4 players through online or local multiplayer. Choose from multiple different player classes and team up with friends to combat procedural dungeons, explore an expansive overworld full of secrets, rebuild your town, upgrade your character's abilities, and take down the Titans to save the once peaceful land of Tassos. Buy Rogue Heroes before March the 9th and unlock the Bomber Pack through an early bird offer featuring the exclusive Bomber class, weapon skins, and home furniture. For a limited time, Dicebreaker podcast listeners can get a 10% discount for Rogue Heroes on PC by visiting the Team 17 store at store.team17.com and using the code DICE10. Be a Rogue Hero.
Welcome to the Dicebreaker podcast. This is episode number 46. I'm hosting again. Oh no.
It's fine. That's not the bingo call for 46. I'm hosting again. Oh no. 46.
It's actually up to tricks, which I think fits quite nicely.
Up to tricks.
Yeah, that definitely fits quite nicely because Matt Jarvis isn't here, so we can get up to as many tricks as we like, although he is tricky himself.
He is a trickster, sometimes. Yeah, that's why we call him Matt, the trickster Jarvis.
We do call him that. I'm Alex Meehan, staff writer for Dicebreaker, and I'm joined by head of video, Johnny Chiodini.
Yeah. Hello. How's it going?
Turned into a foghorn.
Heavy fog rolling in here.
Yeah. It's going all right. It's been a wild week, that's for sure. And I'm also joined by the lovely Alex Lolies.
Hello, I'm also here. Nice to see you.
I'm deeply distressed by that picture in your background.
Oh!
You know what one.
Mr. Throbby, for those of you listening at
home. Oh, God! God! Oh, I'm never going to forget that.
No, thank you.
If there was ever a context I didn't want to think about Mr. Blobby, and it was that.
Yeah, I'm not going to even elaborate on that. I don't think you want me to. So.
No, this is a family-friendly podcast.
It was once.
Because he's a heartthrob, obviously.
Yeah, okay, all right, yeah. So, how about them board games?
Yeah, if you didn't know, this is a podcast about tabletop gaming. This is news to us. And so we're going to start things off by talking about what we've been playing this week. Johnny, seeing as you very kindly brought it up, thank God, tell us about what you've been playing this week.
I haven't been playing a thing because I moved house less than a week ago. So I'm finally into my new home, and I've got all my stuff out of storage because I was living temporarily elsewhere. So what I've really been doing is just playing one giant game of Tetris while I unpack things. It's been really nice to get reacquainted with my board game collection, which I trimmed down before I moved, and now I've got everything out of storage. I think I can trim it down some more. I've catalogued all my games, and including war games, I've got 47.
Wow.
Tabletop games, which it feels like a smaller number than I anticipated, but
you're going to be the new minimalist gamer.
Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna pare it back a little bit. Like, I've got a copy of the Battlestar Galactica board game that I've never played, and
I'll buy it.
I've never played that copy, but I have played the game, and it's fine. But it's in mint condition, so I think I can sell it for quite a lot of money. So
I suppose, yeah. Oh, it's fine.
Well, I mean,
no, it's fine. You can probably get a lot. It's fair enough. You'll probably get a lot for that board game because it's out of print.
Yeah. But I tell you what, yesterday I spent a blissful 2 hours organising my unpainted miniatures So they're all in different sections now according to game and faction, and I've got a lot of Skaven to paint, but I'm very excited about doing it, and I've got my airbrush back, and life feels, life is good again, which is nice.
That is nice.
Excellent stuff.
Hmm.
If that's everything,
Yeah.
Lolies, what have you been playing?
I have been playing games. I actually had a friend who came and stayed with me for a couple of days, which was nice. So I've had a real person here because I've been all on my own in this flat for over a month.
Oh no.
Yeah, well, since Liam left and my housemate still hasn't come home since Christmas, so
wow.
I've just been by myself. So yeah, it was nice to have a bit of company, and it meant that I actually got to dust off some of my own board games and actually play some. So I spent some time teaching them some games, and also we played some games that they played previously. So Patchwork is one. I think a lot of games, like Star Realms, I've mentioned this with before, I go through like phases where I just play it like non-stop. Like every free minute I have, I open the app and I'm playing it. I go on Board Game Arena, I'm playing it. I just play it all the time. And so I went through that phase like a few months ago with Star Realms, and then I went through the phase with Welcome 2 recently, and now I'm going through that phase with Patchwork, because the app is really good, and I did like a how to play video recently on it. So I've just been playing it a lot. So we played a lot of Patchwork, and I've also been playing it on the app. I think I have at least 7 or 8 games going at the same time on the app. Yeah, because people have 24 hours to take their turn, so I'm always waiting for ages. So then I'm like, well, I'll just start off 3 new games, and then and it's just like constantly going. So I'm playing a lot of Patchwork at the moment.
I'm imagining you being like Queen's Gambit, or you're just like placing one piece, moving on to the next table, placing another piece.
It was funny actually, because when I was playing, when my friend was here, because it's a 2-player game, we played a couple of games of it, and obviously you've got that little pawn, and every time I moved the pawn, and then I was like doing my little thinking face, and I really felt like I was in Queen's Gambit. It was quite funny actually. So I've been enjoying that. I've been playing a lot of Star Realms also, IRL, which I never got to do. And I've taught... Star Realms is one that I actually taught to my friend, and I don't know how I haven't taught it to them before, but they seem to really like it. Like, they keep asking me to play more games, so of Star Realms. So that's been really good. I have a new Star Realms friend. And I've also played a game called Twin It, which I have a copy here. It used to be distributed by Big Potato. That's kind of how I knew of it, but it's not anymore. I think somebody else took it, maybe Asmodee probably. Let's be real. But it's
If you thought that was salty, just wait till we reach the news segment.
Yeah, that's just a take. That's a little dusting of salt.
Yeah.
An immense boosh.
But it's a game by if you know Jungle Speed, it's the same designer as Jungle Speed. So Jungle Speed is a game where you have everyone has a deck of cards, and you reveal a card, and it has like very similar colors, and same colors and then similar symbols. And when you have the same card as somebody else, the same symbol, I think, you grab a totem that's in the middle of the table, and it's very confusing. It's like Snap, but in this case there's like a totem involved, and there's like little trick cards that will trip you up. So Twin It is by the same guy. What's his name? Can't remember. It's not written here. But Remy Saunier. No. Yes. Maybe something like that. And and in this,
just got a free shout out there.
In this game, you also have cards that have like the same colors and patterns, but they're very like 70s inspired kind of colors and patterns. And it's very similar, but in this case you put the cards all over the table. So rather than having a stack where you put your cards, you put them all over the table. So eventually there's more and more cards on the table, and you have to use 2 hands to snap on both cards. So one hand on one and one hand on the other.
Okay.
And it's really intense. It's like people that I used to play with used to call it like snap on crack. And you can play a team version as well, which is the one I prefer actually, because in that one each of the teammates like use one hand each, and so you have to communicate with your teammate where the cards are without letting the other people know. And it like, because the cards
Okay,
are
that
so
sounds
like
fun.
weird and abstract, you're trying to describe these cards without also describing it well enough so the other team gets it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. So I've been playing that. And also Human Punishment, which is a game I brought up previously. It's a social
Yes.
deduction game. So they're doing, or they had, or still have, a Kickstarter for a prequel of Human Punishment at the moment. So it kind of like had it back in my head. So I've played it a couple of times with some friends, and it was really good fun. Just because it's a game that I really love, but because of the nature of the social deduction game, I haven't played it in at least 2 years now. And so it was nice to get back into it because there's a mod on TTS which works quite well. I'd forgotten some rules which we kind of messed up a couple of times, but like it was good. It's really good fun. The mod is really good. So playing a bit.
I mean, if we were a nutritionalist and if people ate board games, stick with me, we'd say that was a very well-rounded diet, and that your guts should be very happy with you. So
Yeah.
well done.
Board game guts.
Yeah, well done for eating your greens, but also enjoying some of the other lighter delights of tabletop gaming.
Yeah.
I lost myself
eat
there
board
at the end. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Don't eat your board games. We don't endorse it. It's not a good idea.
Not one of your 5 a day.
No. Point salad is not one of your 5 a day.
No.
Nice.
Excellent. If that's everything, Lolies.
I think that's it. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting, but that's enough.
That's enough, everyone.
Oh, Jungle Speed's a load of tut, by the way. I really don't like that game.
Do you not?
Oh
don't.
dear.
Oh,
Sorry. I
It's
know
one
you
of
really
those-
like it.
Well, to be honest, I'm quite bad at Jungle Speed, but it's one of those games I used to really enjoy teaching when I worked in a board game cafe, because it was one of those things that people get really confused about, and then they really got into it. And I feel
Right.
like I got a lot of joy of seeing the joy that people got out of it.
Fair enough. I mean, joy is an alien and unwelcome concept to me, so, it's just not my bag. What have you been playing, Meehan?
Woo! Yeah. Okay. I've actually played quite a lot this week. I've had friends who got a board game arena pass. They've been graciously sharing it with us. So we've played some more Seven Wonders, which is great. I'm enjoying that game. I'm still not amazing at it, probably because I like the idea of pursuing things rather than actually, getting cards that might win me victory points.
Right.
So I just get into the role playing of it a bit too much. Like last time, I just kept getting swords because I was like, I feel like this is what my leader's gonna do this time. And even though it was fun to prod the other, my adjacent opponents with swords, it ultimately didn't win me the game. But I feel like I won in my own heart, if that makes sense.
I know what you mean. There are sometimes when I do it a lot with Twilight Imperium. I'm like, well, I came fourth, but I gave them a good show. Like they'll be telling tales of my valiant not win for decades.
Yeah. You didn't win, but you'll be remembered.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is ultimately important. But Seven Wonders is a card drafting game that's pretty fun. Very straightforward on Board Game Arena. So we played some of that. We also played a lot of Six, and I'm going to say this wrong.
Six Wonders.
Six Nimmt.
Six Nimmt. But I like to call it Six Nimmt, and I don't know why. It's not called that in any way or form. It's not spelled like that. It's Six Nimmt. But I like to call it Six Nimmt, and you know what? My friends have been doing it now as well. So I'm starting a trend here. That's a really fun game. It's just a very straightforward card game where it's hard to explain.
It's like you play. You've got cards, and it'll give you 4 rows of cards, right? And then you play a card, and your card, depending on what number your card is closest to, that's where your number slots into. And you can
exactly
get up to 5, and that's fine. But if you place the 6th card in a row, you get all of the cards in there, or like you get the points on the cards, and the aim of the game is to not get any points. Because you want to like not get to 66 points, because otherwise you lose. I play. Have you played the professional? There's like a professional mode is the one I always play. I prefer to play it that way, because in professional mode, the card will either go after or before, and I much prefer it that way. It's more chaotic.
It reminds me a little bit of was it like No Turning Back or whatever? Do you remember, Loli? It's the game we played at one of the PAX is.
No Turning Back. How does it work?
There's tiles, and you have a drafting and then a point caching phase. I'm not explaining this very well. Let's just move on. It's fine.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's probably similar. I don't know what game that is.
Yeah,
but,
to be honest, at this point, neither do I.
Maybe you dreamt it up.
Forget I said anything, please.
Sixth Emit is really fun, and it's just hilarious. We were saying how good it could be as a drinking game, and we want to try that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Once we can get in a group as well, because it just has that element of like chaos, and like you can just outright get really like a lot of points in one turn, and it's kind of funny to watch someone like be like, because a lot of the time it's if you're dealt just terrible cards, there's not really much you can do about a situation. Sometimes you are just in the bin. So like sometimes it's about embracing the bin, like you just crawl in there and you live in there with the other people in the bin. And it's a really good game, so we played a lot of that. We also played Cult Express.
Love it. Great game.
I love that game. It's really good. I've got the physical version, which is very dear to me because it's got a little train in it, and I love it.
I think it's one of those games that, like, when you see it on a table, it just looks great as well.
Yeah,
they've done a really good job. Like the little cardboard like rocks and everything. Like there was no need
the
for that,
cacti.
but it's so good. Like I love it. Yeah.
Exactly.
And it gives you a little backdrop thing. Just like
yeah. It's just such a. I just love that. But the board game arena version is pretty good. It certainly like gets things going a lot quicker. Because it just does the turn orders for you. Yeah. So like the best I can describe that game is it's a little bit like coding.
I say it's a programming
game. Yeah. It's like you play your cards, in a turn order, but then all those cards are played at the same time, like every player's card, and so you have to try and like figure out what you think your opponent is going to do after you, and pay attention to what your opponents have done before you, so you can like shoot your enemies and steal loot. It's like a cowboy themed game, and I would say it's a bit hard to really get into it online because there's just a different feeling of playing games online.
I think it's easier to not pay attention when you play online.
Yeah.
Which, in real life, you're just kind of...
Yeah, that's true enough.
Yeah, and like not paying attention in Cult Express is kind of like beside the point of playing it. But I did really quite badly in that game for the most part. I think I was just really like targeted by my opponents. I don't know why, because I was doing nothing to them. There was one of our friends who just kept getting shot constantly, which was real rough. But we played that, and that was great. I also played some Root as one dance with Mr. Jarvis, and I'm not bringing that up here because he won. Luckily, he's not in the podcast this week, so he can't gloat in front of me. That was fun. I love Root. It's just such a good game, and I'm looking forward to this Marauder expansion that's going to come out because it sounds interesting, and apparently it's not going to be the last one. Apparently there's going to be more.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean it's a very popular game. But I want to get a physical copy. It's on the list.
If you have an opportunity to buy the neoprene mat, do it. because Root. My one gripe with the physical edition of the base game is that, at least in my experience, the board is a lively one. It sort of like bunches up in the middle, and you have to sort of spend time flattening it, and it can be a real pain when you've got so many tokens and they're all lightweight. A clumsy move and they start sliding about. So neoprene mat, get one, because they're great. Like Cosmic Frog's got one, Oath has got one, Din's got one. I love a neoprene mat is what I'm trying to say.
Neoprene mats are great. I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, although I would say there is a certain pleasure to a board.
Oh,
to a solid
absolutely.
game board. Yeah,
I just,
no,
just like a neoprene mat. I'm saying neoprene mat. Big neoprene, hit me up. I'm open to sponsorship.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I think that's everything I've been playing. Yeah,
that's
it's
a lot.
been a busy old.
Yeah.
It's been my friends have just really wanted
Stepped
to
it
play
up.
board games at the moment. I've stepped up to the board game. It's been a good week. So there you go. If that's everything we've played, shall we move on to news?
Let's do it.
I suppose.
Don't sound too excited, lady. There's been some real hot news this week. So hot that we've had to really cut down on what we're covering this week. But we've selected the tastiest and spiciest pieces of news available from Dicebreaker.com. We'll start off with this. This is actually from today, which will be technically earlier in the week for you when you listen to this / watch it. A second edition of Great Western Trail has been announced, alongside an entirely new trilogy of Great Western Trail games. I'm not sure any of us have actually played Great Western Trail.
I haven't, but all I've heard is good things, and I've got friends who are obsessed with it. So it's one of those games. It's on my list of I need to play this, but not played it.
Yeah, me neither. I thought I had, but I got confused with Western Legends. So
which is also a Western themed board game.
It is, yeah.
But decidedly different in terms of focus.
Yeah.
Western Legend is like yeehaw, shoot 'em ups, and then Great Western Trail is like cows.
Yeah, I'm slightly disappointed the trilogy isn't going to be Great West, Great Western, Great Westest. But they look interesting. I'm looking at the story now.
Sorry, Johnny, what was that?
I was just saying I'm looking at the story.
Yeah, written by...
I love that you went that way, Johnny, and not like good Western Trail, better Western Trail, Great
Best Western Trail. Yeah.
Best Western... You could get sponsorship.
Yeah.
I've already made my play. I'm going for big neoprene or nothing.
I'll take the Best Western sponsorship.
Yeah, Lolies.
Right then,
I think you should do a PR event where you get a load of cows and try and see how many you can fit in a Great Western Trail.
But do I just,
no,
do I not just
Western
bring
Hotel.
them from Best Western to Best Western?
Yeah.
Or you could
Exactly.
get trains, 3 of them, first Great Western, second Great Western, third Great Western.
Anyway, this is written by our news writer Chase. So there's going to be a second edition of the game, which is good because the artwork for the first edition is awful. If you've ever seen it, it just doesn't, there is no excitement, driven by the front cover of that box. It's just very stern looking men.
Yeah.
Looking at you going, I hope you're qualified for this.
Yeah.
The new art is much, much better if you've seen it. It's more kind of whimsical and captures the feeling of being a cowboy, I guess. So in this game you herd, you're like a cattle driver, and you just herd your cows across the western frontier. It's fairly dry in terms of what you're actually doing, but the theme of it looks like it kind of, makes it a bit more exciting, and people seem to really like it. This new version will have new art. I'm not sure about any new mechanics that are being introduced. However, there will also be 2 additional games, one set in Argentina and one set in New Zealand. Again, not a huge amount known about those new games aside from the locations. And it looks like New Zealand, you're dealing with sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be theme appropriate.
Which would make sense, because there's a lot of sheep there, apparently.
That's why they call it New Zealand. Huh?
The second edition is going to release later this year.
Cool.
Whereas it looks like the next 2 games will come in 2022 and 2023.
Nice.
Wow.
So yeah, that's exciting.
Wow.
What a time to be alive.
Okay.
Yeah.
That artwork does look a lot nicer.
Yeah,
so.
it is
Oh.
much nicer.
Yeah,
Can
it's one of
thoroughly
those-
recommend checking out the story just to see the actual colourful art rather than
Yeah,
the
yeah.
3 stern men.
It's a known fact. I've spoken about it to Mr. Jarvis before when I've written about Great Western Trail. I've said, why? It's another one of those why moments in
Why
tabletop
are all
art.
my
where you're-
uncles on the front of this board game, and what have I done to upset them?
I was just gonna say it kind of looks like we've got Matt Jarvis, Johnny, and Wheels on the front of them.
Wow.
Who is who, Loli?
I
I think
don't
Matt,
wanna get
Matt
into
is the
this.
middle one. Johnny's the white bearded one, and
Oh,
I mean
for-
Wheels,
Right.
Wheels clearly got some kind of a fake mustache. Maybe I'm the third one with the fake mustache.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Great. Good.
What?
But yeah, you know how
Am
you
I-
go into board game shops though, and there are games you see every single time, and you'll pick them up 1 in every 5 just to be like, what is this again? I feel like Great Western Trail I've come across it on the shelf so many times, and I don't think I've ever looked at the back because the front of it just looks
Yeah.
so
That's terrible.
dreary.
So off-putting, and that's a big thing with board games. Like you've got to,
Yeah.
they're very much like books, I suppose, in that manner that you've got to draw people in with the cover and
Yeah.
then get people
Like
interested that
the
way.
new boxes look great. The way they've done the artwork around the side makes it look almost like 3D. Like you can, it's very panoramic.
Mm.
Yes.
Oh, I agree. And, in the stories, as the creator was inspired by sort of the really panoramic shots from Sergio Leone films.
All right,
So-
there you go.
So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure if Matt was here, he'd have a lot more to say about the gameplay aspects of Great Western Trail.
I think
but
we've
we
done
can
a
just
great
imagine
job.
it. Yeah, I think we've done a great
Bloody
job.
hell. He's off enjoying
Yeah.
his root victory and probably
that's-
watching Dragon Ball.
That's what he's doing. Yeah,
Just
definitely
thinking
doing
about
that.
how he, ooh.
Yeah.
Do you
thinking
think
about
that's
how we want it
what
work.
Matt does on his time off? He watches Dragon Ball
Yeah.
and like has a little train that he just drives on his knee. Choo choo.
You know he listens to this podcast, right? I don't know how many episodes behind he is, but he's going to kick your ass in 1 to 3 weeks.
Matt wouldn't kick anyone's ass.
Wow.
He'll probably just no, he's too kind and forgiving. For
Yeah,
that.
fair enough. I'm the more vengeful
Yeah.
type.
He'll probably just give Lolies that disappointed look.
Ugh. We all know
That's
the one.
worse.
Right, next
not
news
worse.
story.
Yeah, let's get going. So this one's a more sad one, I guess. So Metal Gear Solid, the board game, which was announced like quite a while ago. It's been in the works for a long time. Has been cancelled, according to its designer Emerson Matsuuchi.
Snake. Snake.
Yeah, we had a lot of people commenting on the news story of that. Don't worry, you're not alone. So this is very odd, but it's very classic in tabletop industry fashion. It was announced by Matsuuchi on a Board Game Geek post.
Of course.
So, not by the publisher. I did contact the publisher, but I've heard nothing so far. So, we'll hold our counsel on that so far. The publisher in question is IDW Publishing. They do quite a few licensed games and things. So they acquired the rights from Konami, who make the video games, to make this board game. And then Matsuchi has, obviously is designer for it. And he seems to be very passionate about the project because he announced that it was cancelled in December, but we don't know why. Just that it was made then. But Matsuchi seems to be trying to acquire the rights from Konami to continue making the game.
Nice.
So he's got the rights to the design of the actual game, but he hasn't got the licensing rights for Metal Gear Solid. But he's apparently looking into it. I think he's founder for Nazca Games, or at least is connected to that publisher. So they're working together to try and get this board game finished. So I don't know how far along it was when it was cancelled, but it sounds like it was pretty close to being finished.
Yeah, he just said that they missed the release window, didn't they? I don't know
So
whether that meant, they only had so long to get the game out or what, but I really like the idea that he's now gone in like Solid Snake and is sneaking around Konami's office trying to steal the rights to the board game. Like he's taken his stomach acid suppressants and he's swallowed a whole pack of cigarettes and he's ready to go. Him and his bandana.
He's hiding in a crate.
Yep.
He's definitely hiding in a crate in
meant to be a
Konami's
codec
offices
noise,
right
not
now.
like a chicken. Whoops.
But no joke, he's trying to do it legally. No jokesies, please. He said there's no guarantees that it's going to happen. But it looks like he's trying his best to make it happen. But this cancellation has essentially happened after several delays to the game. So it was initially announced it was going to be delayed from early 2019 into summer 2020, and then that was delayed again until this summer. And now IDW has just apparently cancelled it. Again, no comment from them, as far as I know. It's just a bit of a mess. In the last delay, the publisher said it's taken a while to implement some changes that they've had to the design, and so they delayed it for those reasons.
Right.
So at the moment, it's really just speculation as to what the hell happened, really. But I've got theories.
I mean, in many ways, taking absolutely ages to make this thing is the most Metal Gear Solid thing they could have done. But
it is in true auteur fashion, yeah.
I do hope it comes out in the end because to be honest with you, I make no bones about the fact video game adaptations don't really excite me that much. But I mean, there's a massive audience for Metal Gear Solid, but mostly it's just like the creator's fighting the good fight now to get it out. He clearly cares and is passionate, and that sort of passion deserves to be rewarded with the thing actually coming to fruition. So
it kind of makes me think that it's going to be decent, right? If he's so passionate about it that he's like,
you'd hope
he's
so.
pushing for
I mean,
it.
Yeah.
So the general premise behind the game was it's based on the first video game, so Metal Gear Solid. So it's a co-op game where you play as like the different characters from the game, so Solid Snake, Meryl, Otacon, etc. And you're infiltrating the nuclear weapons facility and trying to take down the terrorists and such.
Nice. Shout out to any diehard Metal Gear fans, by the way, who twitched impishly when you said it was the first game. It's obviously based off the first Metal Gear Solid game. Yes, there are Metal Gear games before that, you pedants. Sorry, it's the old game.
Don't worry, I was aware of that.
No, I knew you knew, but I just knew the'd be somebody yelling at their radio or whatever they listen to this on.
Their radio,
Yep.
Yelling at their radio.
I see.
We're not coming out of it, but yelling at it. It's the first Metal Gear Solid.
Yelling at their Walkman.
Game. The Walkman.
Johnny.
Yes.
Turning over their
No.
commemorative Dicebreaker podcast 12-inch. It'd probably be a 76,
Oh, that'd be
wouldn't
so
it?
cool.
Rewinding the Betamax to make sure that really is what we said. Absolutely livid.
Let me just listen to that again.
Oof, I nearly
yeah, no.
snapped my Laserdisc in half, so I did.
Matsuchi does genuinely sound passionate about it, and it sounds like there have been changes made. The changes, I assume, have been made to try and improve things, or at least, like, you know, they wanted to. IDW clearly wanted to release the game in a state that Matsuchi and everyone else was happy with. But again, speculation. None of this is legal. Yada yada. I wonder whether either the licensing agreement ran out because they've been creating it for so long, or whether they wanted to cut their losses before they actually produced the physical game, because that's where most of the money is spent in actually making the physical pieces, etc.
Yeah.
I
mean, I don't know, obviously, about video games. Was there a new Metal Gear game that came out in the last couple of years? Were they trying to maybe...
no, mate.
No, Metal Gear Solid 5 came out 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah,
and then
so,
there was the whole big... Yeah.
But, I mean, even 4 or 5 years ago, if they were trying to bring out a board game that was maybe closer to that release, because, I mean, now we're talking almost 2 years, right? 2 years since it was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
Now it's like time is moving on.
It's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, Konami are notoriously difficult as a publisher to deal with. They just have a reputation of being difficult. So I wonder, I don't know if it's anything to do with that, or, again, Konami haven't said anything either. So who knows? But hopefully Matsuchi manages to get it out the ground. I think we want to see that, and the fans want to see it. And I think people have pre-ordered it as well, so I don't know what's going on with that. So Yikes indeed. So there you go. Thoughts and prayers, really. Here's another story. So Cluedo, as it's known in the UK, or Clue, as it's known elsewhere, is apparently getting an animated series. Yeah.
What, are they going to look for Mr. Black every episode and then it has a different colour every episode? How does that even work?
No idea.
I mean,
there are there are absolutely no details as to what the plot line is going to contain, who's in it. It's just that it exists, or it's going to. And it's being co-created by Entertainment One, which is a studio owned by Hasbro, which is the publisher that owns Cluedo. And it's being produced alongside a Fox Entertainment-owned company called Bento Box Entertainment.
Bento Box, isn't that... I think they also make Bob's Burgers, don't they?
Well, that would make sense if it was animated... If they do animated programs.
Yeah, they do. They make Bob's Burgers.
That's a
more
hopeful
interesting,
sign.
yeah.
Yeah.
Paradise PD, Glove and Boots.
Paradise PD is pretty good.
I've not seen it.
I
absolutely adore Bob's Burgers. So.
Yeah. I've not watched it, but I've heard good things.
This might be good.
Yes.
What are they going to do about the characters? Because didn't they release like a new edition of Cluedo that changed or cut some of the characters?
Yeah.
Because when I was a kid, I was always Professor Plum.
Mm.
And now I don't even think Professor Plum's in it anymore.
I think I was Miss Scarlet.
Whoa!
Wow!
Where did that come from?
That.
The spiciest take I've ever heard you have, and it was about Cluedo characters.
Look, kids don't want to play as Professor Plum. They want to play as like a skateboarder or like a graffiti artist or something. You know, they want to play or a YouTube streamer or something like that. They don't want to play as.
I'm sorry that childhood me had academic aspirations, and I'm also sorry to childhood me that I didn't fulfill them.
Oh well, you're an academic of tabletop gaming.
Yeah,
There you go. that counts.
Mm-hmm.
So all we know that it's going to be based on the board game. We don't know what version. and that it's going to be made by these two companies. Hasbro has been on a bit of a roll lately with adaptations. So there's the D&D film and television series, and there's going to be a series on Risk.
Oh
and,
god, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's been written by the person behind the John Wick trilogy. And there's going to be another animated series which is based on Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Which makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, definitely, because there's loads of lore in that. Planeswalkers go through massive long journeys, but as for the rest of it, can people stop commissioning shows with patently stupid concepts and then attaching actual interesting creators, please? Because that's becoming a trend, and I'm not a fan.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just very dependent on the property. I don't think tabletop gaming is entirely devoid of good sources of stuff like this, but not something like Clue, where there's already a film of Cluedo.
Yeah.
It's got Tim Curry in it. I mean,
yeah. What more could you want?
I don't know what the problem here is. Come on.
Yeah.
Why do we need an animated show as well? But maybe it'll be good. You don't know. We don't know. So that's happening. Any ideas for casting? Anyone got any strong views? Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Maybe Tom Hanks as Colonel Mustard.
Oh, I was about to say Patrick Stewart as Colonel Mustard.
Oh,
Patrick Stewart.
Dawn French as Mrs. White. There we go. Oh, Nicolas Cage is Reverend Green.
Oh, that was...
Oh, the guy from the Mummy as Professor Plum.
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser?
Professor...
Oh, yeah, anything that would get Brendan Fraser back on the screens.
Yeah.
Oh, I would watch that very happily. Watch that.
Yeah.
And hey, heck, put Rachel Weisz in there as well. Team him back up.
Can you imagine that they finally get reunited for Cluedo? Good lord. Right, next news story.
Yeah, Lolies, it's time to get fired up. This is your moment. A Board Game Arena. What's going on with it, Lolies?
Board Game Arena has been bought by Asmodee. And it's a terrible, terrible time for all of us.
That's Lolies' opinion there.
Yes.
That's not an opinion shared by Dicebreaker. No, it's Lolies' opinion. Please, Asmodee.
This is my thinking, right? I'm upset because, right? I love Board Game Arena. It is my go-to for playing tabletop games above tabletop sim or anything else, especially since lockdown. I love Board Game Arena. I've been on Board Game Arena for years. It's great. It's free. And if you want to pay, you pay 20 quid a year. It's very cheap. It's great. It's got a fairly small section of games, compared to TTS especially, but it's great. It's got most of the main ones and some other ones. Not so good.
The main ones and some other ones.
What annoys me is that Asmodee keep buying everything up, and it's I'm already get really annoyed whenever they buy another publisher, because it just feels like they are becoming this monopoly, pun intended. And it's just really frustrating. And so now they've bought an online place where you can play board games, and I'm worried about a few things. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot more games available, which will be cool. But at what cost? At initial what cost? Are they going to start charging? Are they going to charge more? Are they going to make it a big push for the games that they sell, which is actually all of the games ever? Let's be real. I don't know. I'm trying to have an open mind, but also it's very frustrating to me that they just own everything.
I do hear what you're saying about Asmodee being absolutely gargantuan, and it truly is, especially in the UK. It's it basically owns everything. But I believe so the announcement said key brands from Asmodee will be made available on Board Game Arena ASAP. Cool. So but I think it was said that
Yeah.
it would be allowed to operate independently.
The Asmodee stated that Board Game Arena will continue to operate as an independent entity and confirmed that board games from publishers not owned by Asmodee would continue to be hosted and offered to users for free.
It does make you wonder what that means for future games that might be added, though. And I mean, the thing is, even if it's allowed to operate as an independent entity, you know, things will change. It's inevitable when one business acquires another. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing. And I can totally understand your concerns, Lolies.
Asmodee are an enormous humongous that's just slowly absorbing.
That's my issue.
A lot of
it's just they're just absorbing everything, and it's like, when will this stop? Like, no one can stop it, because like obviously for them it's great because they've got like they're being, I'm assuming, being paid a bunch of money now. For this website that they kind of like started from nothing a few years back, which I'm happy for them, but it's just, I wish there was somebody who was competing with Asmodee at least, but it just feels like no one is, and it feels like they're just growing to such a point.
But Hasbro's is just as bad.
No, but it's growing to such a point where it feels like who is gonna, like, Hasbro's very different though. I think Hasbro is like, it's not. I don't know. It's very different. I think.
I mean, they're comparable in terms of potentially the two biggest, I'd say, corporate entities in tabletop gaming. But I suppose Asmodee's more of a distributor, whereas Hasbro is a publisher that owns other publishers as well. So they do offer, they do work in different kind of areas. But I guess Asmodee have just got a big hold on the market in terms of, they do a lot of the releasing, in different countries. And I guess with this, there is a fear of them changing the way it operates or charging more for it, etc. But I mean, until they do something like that, don't really know. I mean, they have said,
sorry, carry on.
I was just gonna say, they have said they're going to add Skull and Splendor to the game in the coming weeks, apparently. So
okay. But part of me wonders if the appeal for Asmodee isn't improving sort of the social elements of the games it releases on, say, Steam. Because I think if you ever play something like Love Letter or Mysterium on Steam, the Asmodee released ones are... The games themselves, once you get into them, run very smoothly, but the chat interface and getting into a game with people is it's ungainly and gross.
Awkward.
So part of me hopes that there can be a sharing of knowledge there, and perhaps Asmodee's official releases will improve. But either way, we're going to have to keep a close eye on this one and see how it shakes out. But I think it's safe to say Lolies ain't feeling too positive about it.
Nope. I mean, I kind of have an open mind. I'm not gonna be that person, but also, right now, I'm not happy about it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough. Next news story.
Let's liven things up here. So The Witcher, which people may know from the television series, starring Henry Cavill, but it is also a video game series.
And a series of novels by Andrzej Sapkowski.
Indeed it is. So the video game series is based on the novels. But there is a new board game coming out based on the video games, specifically. Because it's being published by CD Projekt Red, which is the studio that puts out the video games, the trilogy of games. And so this board game is called The Witcher Old World, which is a very creative title. Apparently it takes place before Geralt is gallivanting around the world, doing his thing, sitting in bathtubs, killing monsters, etc. And you play as witches from the different sort of classes of witches. So yes, of Witcherton. So
I've never seen The Witcher
sort of...
before. I don't know if that's obvious.
Well,
You had me fooled.
the thing is that the Witcher television series takes place when the Witcher schools are kind of in the toilet. This is, I assume this board game is taking place when the Witcher schools are kind of at their peak.
Or at least, at least they exist and they're training new Witchers. Yeah.
So there are 5 different Witcher schools you can pick from. The wolf, the griffin, the cat, the bear, or the viper.
This sounds great. I don't know what this is about, but I like it.
I think
and they all have...
Witcher.
I think I would
as
well.
Carry on.
Yes.
Yeah, they all have different abilities depending on which one you pick. So, like, the cat is faster, whereas bear witches are, like, more defensive and such. And this kind of plays into a deck of cards that you use to kind of control your character and do different actions. So, depending on the school you pick, you'll have different cards to start with, and then you sort of build on that deck as you go through by mastering new skills and acquiring new equipment and things like that. And you use that to defeat monsters, to gain trophies which allow you to win the game. So you'll be going off on quests, gaining coin and renown, and you also make various moral choices that may change the narrative of the game. It looks interesting. It's being co-published by Go On Board, who I don't know that well, but they've done some games. Valhalla, apparently, is one. King and Assassins. I've never played them, but
right. Yeah,
fascinating stuff. So there are other Witcher board games. Have I played any of them? I think there's an adventure game that people seem to like.
Yeah.
That's kind of based on Geralt, specifically.
I quite like this idea where you create your own Witcher and sort of go off having adventures. I think it's a rich world.
I like I don't know anything about The Witcher, as I say, but I'm kind of excited about this. It sounds like something that I'd really like. I feel like I'd enjoy it.
Yeah.
Kind of got an RPG thing to it. You know?
Yeah. It's a world, where basically there didn't used to be monsters, and then the spheres converged and suddenly monsters. So there are all these horrible beasts that shouldn't be here in the world. And humans are just sort of trying to live their lives scrabbling about in the dirt and being a bit like, what is this horrible thing over here? And witches are basically people who have undergone mutations and trials and things to give them sort of superhuman resilience and all this kind of stuff and tremendous abilities like heightened senses, etc., etc. But they're also kind of social outcasts. They're seen as freaks and mutants, and they go around hunting monsters for money.
Oh,
they sell swords. But really cool ones, they're also sexy. Well,
Geralt is sexy.
Especially if you've seen the Dream Daddy version of him on Twitter.
Goodness.
Getting sort of look. Matt's already warned me once about making the podcast diversity.
Fine.
I've got to be careful. He listens to this. The Witcher world is really interesting. They can also perform. It's magic. They call it signs, but it's basically magic. There is one Witcher school particularly that is, I think it's the Griffin, that's more accomplished at doing signs than others. Correct. Well done. Have I atoned for the earlier Metal Gear thing? Am I all right now?
Yeah,
Am
you're
I
fine.
cool?
You're absolutely fine. You carry on, mate.
It looks like there are miniatures in there, because obviously there are.
They look very big. If that's the real size, then they're the same size as the box, which seems where does the rest of the game go?
I think that might be a perspective issue there.
Yeah, it's a Witcher, and that's a Leshen, which is a forest creature.
That's the thing that I'm very attracted to right now.
The monsters and the monster lore in The Witcher is really cool. Okay. Leshens are just so atmospheric and cool and
I want to paint
essentially
it like one of those French girls.
Wow, Lolies getting thirsty for the Leshen. Essentially, the Witcher world is this world was already pretty rubbish because wars keep happening in it and people are pretty scummy. But now it's even worse because there are also monsters in it.
Great.
Yep.
But hey, you get to have fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
in
not
your
just
own
a
way.
straight, video game
Yeah,
adaptation. It's
No.
got heart and it's sort of like it's taking its own direction with it. So yeah, gonna keep an eye on that one.
Exactly. The Kickstarter campaign is set to be launched in May this year. And the game looks like it's going to be released in April next year.
Cool.
So a bit of a wait.
Only 11 months to wait. Nice.
Only 11 months. You'll keep a calendar. 11 months until I can get my Leshen.
Yeah, I'll have one of those like
Miniature.
calendars with a red marker where I'm crossing off the days.
This is Leshen Heart.
Right, no more news stories.
Yay!
Exactly. Woo!
We know
Okay.
everything that's new now, and so do you at home.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, you've heard all the hot goss. We're gonna do some emails now. We're gonna answer some email and Twitter questions. Thank you to everyone who sent us questions. You can send us questions if you haven't through our email address, which is podcast@dicebreaker.com. Or you can comment on the podcast article that you might have read to get this video. Or the YouTube comment, the YouTube comment. Or you can just send us a tweet. We're into that. We do Twitter.
We're down with the
Okay.
kids. We tweet.
Well,
Yeah. Lolies, would you like to read this first question from Will?
Meehan, I would love to. Will says, podcast. Why can't I say podcast? Podcast question for y'all. I've asked a bunch of times about games being too big and having too many miniatures, etc. But what about the opposite? What board games deserves the sprawling, too extravagant treatment of something like TI4? Hey, that's my fish, maybe? Will also asks a sensible and a silly question. The sensible question being, can...
Oh, no, sorry.
That's not
That's
not
a
happening?
different question,
Oh,
my
that's
dear.
a different question. Sorry.
Abort!
Set a watch. Give me a massive honking grey edition of Set a Watch.
With a mat, with a neoprene mat.
Oh, neoprene mat. Yeah, just like a mega deluxe version of Set a Watch. Maybe not with miniatures, but
Yeah.
maybe with miniatures. Like if you had miniatures of the player characters to show when you've exhausted your abilities or whatever, that would be kind of fun. I don't know, like, because I kind of, if I'm reading Will's question correctly, it's sort of like this is a lavish thing where we're just scaling it up for the sense of grandeur.
Yeah.
So that would be a big one for me.
I understand the question that's being asked, and I know this is not really in that same thing. But I'm a sucker for anything like giant versions of board games. So when you go to events, when events were still a thing, and you could like play a giant version of King of Tokyo, for example, or like or I don't know, one of the other games that you can play. That I love that, and I know that's like not really what Will's asking. But like, to be honest, you could take any game, and if you make Star Realms with big cards, I will be there.
Shuffling a deck would be so tedious.
Oh my god, yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I would bloody love if they scaled up Twilight Imperium 4 even more. So like, it takes over a whole sports hall,
Yeah.
or you have to use one of those general's paddles to move your pieces around.
God,
Just bigger
Or-
anything, really.
Or you had actual like that bit in The Simpsons where like
Oh yeah.
Burns has people as the chess pieces. Have like people just be the different components and things.
Yeah.
You have to move around. You have to go move to that corner, please.
Yeah, just got a radio in. You're like, can you move to Mechatol Rex, please? Or giant Jenga with gold bars. So like, if
Whoa.
you could kill somebody when it topples.
Wow.
If you're not careful, just ingots come crashing down and smash into a toddler or something.
Oh my god.
Heist! A toddler's just there. Quick, someone move that
This has
toddler.
gone very
Pretty
dark.
decadent. Yeah, sorry. That's just what
No,
happens
it's
when I'm
fine.
on the
This is-
podcast.
This is no, this is just imaginary. We're not actually going to do that.
Yeah, I'm not actually kill a toddler with solid gold bars. I'm not
I
rich
can't
enough.
afford a solid gold bar.
Oh dear.
What do you take me for? I don't know. For me, camel up with actual camels.
How do you stack them though?
Yeah, how do you stack them up?
Put a plank across the
Listen,
humps
mate.
of one.
Talking about smashing a toddler flat with solid gold bars is one thing, but this is just animal cruelty we're talking about now.
No, I wouldn't have them step on each other. I'd maybe just like tie them up or something. Like no, but like with a ribbon to indicate like, oh, this one is on top of this one. I don't know. Like, I think it would be fun. Although I rode on a camel once and it was very scary.
I mean, I think even like without, if you didn't do it with real camels, having ones that you could like camel size that you could sit on the camel, that would be great. Like a wooden.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be
Version
great!
you
Like,
could sit on.
like when you go to the supermarket and you get to ride around in the little trolley thing.
Yeah, they don't do those
Like,
anymore, do
want-
they?
I know, it's barbaric. But I want to do that, but with camel up. I want to ride around on a fake camel and
I like it.
just be debauched.
I feel like I've ruined your question, Will. I'm sorry, but also I've enjoyed this.
Listen.
probably
immensely,
enjoy it.
so-
Yeah,
Will's-
no problem.
Will's been following along with Dicebreaker long enough to know what to expect from us now.
Yeah, when you send us a question, it like goes into a weird machine and then plops out the other
Yeah,
end.
you're less asking a suggestion as suggesting a question, I think. Because we are happy to take them and run. Speaking of which...
Yeah, Johnny, would you like to do the next question from Rachel James, please?
Oh yeah, Rachel James says, sensible question, can games be too minimal? Is there a point when there's not enough content for something to be considered a game? And silly question, what games would you play with Danny DeVito and what snacks would you bring?
Yeah, I would also add this other question that's right below it, which says, if Danny DeVito was a snack food, what kind of snack food would he be? So I just figure those two questions just meld into one another, really.
Vis-a-vis, can games be too minimal?
Yes. Yes.
You think yes?
Well, okay. The game that comes to mind for me is one that I feel like there's a lot of people disputing that it is a game. It's The Mind. That's like one of the most minimal games ever. But I don't think a game can be too minimal. But there's games which are certainly like, I don't know. I feel like there could be more, maybe. I don't know. Like The Mind, if you don't know what The Mind is a card game where you each have a certain number of cards and you're trying to play them so that they go in ascending order, but you're not allowed to communicate at all. So you just sit there in silence until one of you plays a card and hope that it's lower than the one you still have in your hand. And you're not allowed to communicate in any way, like not like physically, not emotionally, just not at all. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't play it like that anyway, so...
When people are playing, you know, they're like, oh my god, we were so in sync with one another, it's like we were psychic, etc, etc.
yeah.
And I have friends who say it's just not a game.
It's just a
I
game
think
of who is the most stubborn sometimes. So.
Yeah, but then, I don't know, I feel like the definition of a game can be so broad. It's basically just whatever a group of people decide it is.
Yeah.
Like I went to a you know, a friend's barbecue on a roof at what feels like 4,000 years ago now, but in reality it was like maybe 2 years ago. And we had a bucket and we had a cork from a bottle of something, and we played 3 hours playing cork bucket, which is just, I mean, I don't even need to explain the rules, but it was definitely a game, you know, like I kind of feel like it's a bit like the pornography razor. It's like, you know it when you see it, like. I mean, the pornography.
Sorry, Matt Jarvis.
Well, it's an actual thing. Like it's. I mean, don't Google it without an incognito window. But people know when a game's a game. You know.
Yeah, no. I think if it has rules, then it's a game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I do. I think being picky about whether something is a game or not is kind of leaning into.
It's a bit
like,
gatekeepy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. But I do think there are some games that I'm disappointed with because I'm like, this isn't entertaining because there's not enough to really engage me. Like that King's Gambit game that was just like, this is not fun. It's it's like there's not enough there to like have me want to care about what I'm doing. I think there are games like a lot of like party card games do that for me when I'm like, what is the draw here? Like, what am I supposed to be invested in?
Those aren't minimal though. Those are just arbitrary. Like, I make no bones about the fact I hate Flux with a burning passion. But that's got rules. It's got loads of rules. It's got more rules than it needs.
They're
and
games.
They're constantly in flux.
They're games, but they're just
it's
like...
it's so arbitrary that it may as well not be. I hate Flux. But in terms of something being so minimal that it's not a game, it's just like, no, it's not a game. It's not a game anymore when you stop playing. That's it.
It's like the game. You've just lost the game.
Oh, thank you
Lolies,
so much,
everyone
Lolies.
listening to this has just also lost the
has
game.
just
the
lost
game.
the game.
You're
welcome. You've been on such a long streak. Now you've lost the game.
Brilliant. Right, Danny DeVito.
What do we think about Danny DeVito?
He'd been one of those really big balls of like really big bags of like cheese puffs.
Oh, really? I was going to go the other way.
Ones.
There's I was talking.
There's another way.
Well, yeah, because cheese puffs is pretty savory. I was going more the sweet route.
Oh.
I was thinking. I feel like I was talking to someone about this the other day. I remember when I went to America, not about Danny DeVito specifically, but about this sweet. And when this question came up, I thought, yeah, I feel like Danny DeVito could be this sweet. When I went to America when I was like 17, I went to Ohio, and they've got these sweets called Buckeyes, and they are just like chocolate. It's like peanut butter covered in chocolate. I can't remember if there's anything else. Maybe a nut or something. No, there's peanut butter. I don't know. Either way, they're really, really good. And I feel like he's a Buckeye.
He's one of them. He's a big one of them.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I think he's a mozzarella ball. I mean, like a breaded, like a mozzarella stick, but I think, like a breaded.
Okay.
Like a breaded mozzarella. Like he's a mozzarella
sauce.
stick.
I really love mozzarella.
With marinara sauce. Yeah.
Oh, I'm very hungry now.
Yeah, me too.
And as to what game I'd play with Danny DeVito, I don't know. Maybe like Happy Salmon. That'd be fun with Danny DeVito, I think.
I'd want to play something quite tactical. I'd want to see the wheels that like the cogs turning in his house.
Twilight Imperium.
I mean, yeah, I actually think I would love to play Twilight Imperium with Danny DeVito.
Yeah. I have a big bag of cheese balls with it as well.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to play
brilliant.
like Fun Employed, or like something like that. Even Snake Oil, maybe.
Oh, Snake Oil would be great because he's very persuasive. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good pick.
Danny, get in touch.
Yeah, Danny DeVito.
You got my number.
Yeah,
Listen, and if you've got any ends with big neoprene, let's talk.
I bet he loves neoprene.
Oh, you just know he does.
Do you think he wears neoprene?
I don't know. I think, to be honest with you, I think...
What are you wearing? Neoprene.
I think years of being on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has given us a much more kind of feral idea of what Danny DeVito's like than is necessarily fair.
He used to be America's sweetheart, but now he's like just grimy. Sort of.
I mean, I think he's still America's sweetheart.
Yeah,
it's just that
like
we've all seen him come out of a sofa naked now, and like that episode where he gargles a beer, like he downs a beer and then does that weird gargle belch. It's haunting.
It's an art.
It's haunting, but wonderful. It
shows his range of acting skills.
Danny, get in touch. We'll
Danny DeVito.
We'll replace the War Sons with cheese balls. It'd be hilarious. Let me know.
Right.
No,
that's enough.
Do you know what I'd love
questions.
to play with Danny DeVito?
Oh, no.
Sorry. I'd love to play, what's the name of the game that they play in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? What's the one that they make up? It's like a combination of all their names.
Chardy McDennis?
Yeah, I think something like that.
I think it's that.
Yeah. Anyway,
he's probably played that a billion times though with people.
So, hasn't played it with me.
Yeah, true.
Playing it again.
We can play it for the channel.
Bit of crokinole.
Oh,
Bit of crokinole with Danny DeVito.
Yeah, crocodile feet, Danny DeVito.
No, you can't play it with your feet. That's ridiculous. You wouldn't have the fine motor control.
Right, that's enough questions. Come on.
All right.
I'm
But
Come on,
Meehan, that
let's
means
go.
it's the end of the podcast. All that's left to do is
but-
tell you what's coming up on the YouTube channel and the site.
Yeah, Johnny, that was excellent. How did you know exactly what to say? It's like you read my mind.
Not my first rodeo.
Would you like to tell us what can the
Oh,
viewers expect from,
Yes, all right, yeah.
from the YouTube channel
That's such
this
a,
week?
a
Tomorrow,
great shout.
You're gonna have episode 5, the penultimate episode of the Warhammer RPG we're playing.
Age of
Soulbound,
Sigmar,
yeah.
Soulbound.
Yeah, that one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Turn up at 3 p.m.
Sharp.
GMT.
Be there
Yep.
Sharp.
or don't be there.
Earlier this week, Wheels had a look at Zine Quest, which is sort of like a campaign for people basically releasing short form adventures for their own games. We sort of had a look at some of the more interesting ones in that, which is very, very cool. And then coming up, we've got, oh, I didn't know the cat was in here. Got my cat back, by the way.
Hey.
Got another episode of You've Never Played. We're doing some painting. Time rolls on. And so does the YouTube channel.
Yeah, just you're
subscribe.
basically on the channel possibly right now.
Just
so
subscribe,
yeah,
and then we don't have to tell you every week what's coming up. You just
Yeah.
find out when the bell rings.
Yeah.
Also ring that bell icon.
hit the bell icon. Yeah,
Ding,
ring
ding,
that
ding.
bell. Ding 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 ding. Up on the website dicebreaker.com, we've got a delicious selection of cheese balls
Yum yum yum.
for you to eat with your eyes. A freelance writer, Jason Coles, has done an impressions on the new Coldheim pack for Magic the Gathering. So if you're interested in what that is like, you can read that right now. There's also a list of the best solo RPGs by our own Michael Whelan. So if you fancy exploring things alone, then you'll be able to do it with those. There's also a really interesting feature by Sharang Biswas, who is the creator of Honey and Hot Wax, and loads of other really interesting role-playing games. And they are writing about the things that indie RPGs can do that maybe larger releases can't, and why they're really interesting. And there's also an opinion piece about libraries in Dungeons & Dragons coming up, which should be fun.
Neat.
So that
Libraries?
is, and obviously the
Libraries.
yes, Lolies, they have books in them.
If that's interesting, why not read it on the site?
Yeah, there'll be all the usual news and hot takes, etc. Yeah, dicebreaker.com. And with that out of the way, it's now just time to say goodbye to
Goodbye.
you all.
Goodbye, goodbye, good friends, goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for being on the podcast, Johnny Chiodini.
Bye.
And thank you for being here, Alex Lolies.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a friend. And I've been Alex Meehan, and we want to wish you
Merry
a
Christmas.
lovely day. A Merry Christmas.
Good. Bye.
Bye.